Welcome to the Alphagenix Podcast, where every week we talk to incredible guests from around the world of biohacking, well-being, men's health, and more. Here's your host, co-founder of Alphagenix, Ross Tompkins.
I'm absolutely delighted to welcome today's guest. We have the founder of Lovetuner, Sigmar Berg.
Hey Ross, thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no problem. From the moment I was introduced to the Lovetuner, which was quite recently, I was really keen to get you on this show to talk about where it came from, where the idea came from, and what your mission is really, because I find it fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah, a quick recap. So the Lovetuner, you're wearing one, I'm wearing one. So for the listener, what it really is, it's a mindfulness tool. It's a meditation device, and we combined actually breathwork with sound healing, and all this in this little necklace. You can pull this out. It's calibrated to 525 hertz, and when you blow through this whistle, we can do later on, it aligns your water molecules in your body, and it gives you the feeling of relaxation. And on a spiritual level, it helps you to arrive in the here and now, and this is actually where we want to be. And it's a very profound breath work. So you do a conscious breathing break, and the tone actually gives you an audible feedback about your exhale. So you strengthen your lung volume, and on the other hand, you get into this meditative state of mind, like really fast. And this is what we figured out is like, a lot of people would like to meditate, but it's so abstract for many people that it goes like, oh, that's not for me. And I mean, when I got it into this frequency work, I was already meditating, and I tried my best, and I think to a certain degree I was decent, and it helped me a lot. But when I started combining breath work with my meditation through the Lovetuner, it was just so much more powerful, and it's so easy. So you don't have to have any knowledge, you don't have to go to a workshop. You just sit down, find a quiet spot, and start breathing, and the instrument itself does the work for you. So it's for the lazy people, but it's very profound.
I love that, because I think every single person watching this, if they have meditated before, they'll be familiar with meditating, thinking, am I doing this right? I'm thinking about something. Am I supposed to think about something? It's okay to think about something. No, come back to now. And you have this whole conversation in your head. So I think a lot of people are going, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so in my experience, the first experience was I did a guided meditation with breath work, and we have been only listening to the sound. And this was basically a gate opener for me. This is when I said, wow, that's really powerful. And I had no education about frequency. An old friend of mine was working on this project to combine frequency into this device for a long time. And then when we actually started, it was like for us, like completely unknown ground. People ask us later on, what's the difference to 432 hertz and all this stuff? And I was digging deeper and deeper into the knowledge of frequency. And at one point, I came back to what Nikola Tesla really said: everything is vibration and frequency. And when you tap into this field of frequency and vibration, and this is not only through the Lovetuner, but just in general, you get more aware of what is a good vibe and what is a bad vibe. And this is what our journey actually has been. So Lovetuner started more or less like as a peace and love mission. It's about to make this world a happier, healthier, and also more sustainable place. And I'm a big believer in that the intellect separates us, but our hearts are always curious. They always want to connect. And this is basically what the Lovetuner facilitates. It takes you out of your head into your heart. And on a heart level, like you can forgive yourself. You can forgive whatever is going on in the world out there, because the intellect is what makes us judgmental. And on a heart level, we actually, and this sounds very far out there right now, but when people say love can heal the world, there's something in there, and interesting enough, John Lennon composed Imagine, what is still the most famous love and peace song since nearly half a century. And this song was composed in 528 hertz. So he knew about the power of the frequency.
Wow.
And that's a beautiful thing, you know, and when you go further with this thought, it's literally like, oh wow, I can connect into a bigger field. You know, it's this field of like, you know, we are all brothers, we're all sisters, like this kind of like one is all and all is one. And
Yeah.
when you turn this light on in your heart, you know, it's not going to happen within a day, you know, like, because if you shift your process in your being and you want to vibrate higher, it doesn't happen overnight. It's just not like one thought and you run off and say, oh, I bought a Lovetuner and I'm vibrating so high. It's just like what it slowly does in your system. And it aligns your water molecules. It helps you to be balanced, to be centered. And this is when a whole process starts within you. You know, like you get more empowered, you get more self-confident. You get a sense of what is in harmony with you and what is in dissonance with you. And this is already, I always say, that's already half of the rent, because when you know what is not good for you and you know what's good for you, and you're a smart person, you should gravitate towards the good vibes.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there was probably never a more important time for the world to be aware that we are all one, because we seem to be ever more divided. That, you know, every year seems to be there's a new label for something, there's a war over here, and we're getting further apart than actually being united. It's I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think separation is the biggest hurdle we have to overcome. And if you look into whatever 100 years ago, and people have not had the communication tools that we have, and there was separation because, you know, Europe was not one, you know, like America was far away. But now everything is like within a click on your phone, you know, you can connect, you can do something. And this is the depressing part for me. We have never been so connected and we are so divided. And this is just like, because we fuel from the wrong stuff, you know what I mean? Nobody shows and shares a sunrise or a sunset, but everybody shows something really negative or something really stupid, you know? The stupid stuff is just there for to distract you, and the negative stuff is just like to set your vibration in a negative tone. And that's what it is, you know. And if you consciously go out there with positive content, you know, and with good vibes, and maybe a little bit more smartness than just being, oh, I just slip over a banana little thing, you know, like this kind of like superficial, stupid humor that actually destroys, you know, like humanity, because it dumbs us down. I mean, we have never been smarter than ever before. We have resources, and we fall for the most stupidest stuff, you know, and that's the scary part, you know. And this is just like, you have either the people who are not engaged at all, or you have those who are pushing their agenda. And this is what causes this extreme big separation. And I don't think that there's an intellectual solution to it. You really need to remind humanity who we really are, you know. I mean, you are like whatever, a vibrational being. You're a spirit that has a human experience for a certain time in your life, and you have your breath, and when you get into this world, it's the first thing you do. You inhale, and when you get out of it, you exhale. And in between, the breath should be your best friend. And if you step back and remember all the functionality that we have in our body, how we can self-regulate our stress, then you literally have also the possibility to step back and go like, yeah, I don't buy into this. You know, it's not my vibe. Yeah. And when more people would do this kind of movement to go inward and start looking on the outside, then you also build, the possibility for a so-called spiritual revolution, because you connect hearts, and then whatever politicians do, whatever their agenda is, you know, it's gonna get a little bit harder if you have people who are aware and conscious, you know, and when you work on yourself and what you are doing with your clinic, to bring back people back into empowerment, to make them healthy. I mean, you see one thing right away: they're just happier, more empowered people, and that's what it is, you know. And they can overcome depression. They're happy again. They're stronger again. And this is when it's possible to live in the here and now again. You know, You don't blame what happens in the past. You're not scared about the future, because the real life is right here, right now. And what happened in the past just causes depression when you look back. And everything that in the future, what is not even existing yet, causes anxiety. And there's a super cool quote from Dimos Hilaire, this LSD guy in the 60s. He talked about, and this was like long before surfing was really cool and established. It was not a billion dollar industry yet. And surfers have been back then like kind of the black sheeps of the society. They've been just sitting on the ocean waiting for the waves and not having a job or whatever. But the interesting thing, what he said back then, is he said, the people who really live in the moment is actually the surfer. Because where he is when he rides a tube is the wave behind him, it disappeared already. And the wave ahead of him is not even built yet. So he's right there in the tube surfing. And this is where he is in the here and now. And if we don't have to become surfers, but if you think about this, just on a daily basis, like no matter what it is, you get up in the morning, you kiss your partner, or you lift your kids up, or you walk your dogs, whatever you do, really consciously do the thing, like don't look at your phone while you walk with your dog, like really enjoy this guy, like his vibe, and be really there for him. And these short moments that you really connect with someone, these are the ones where you get powerful. This is where you exchange energy, where you're really present. And this is just a little bit of message in general, besides love tuning, but that's
I love that, and I think it's so important because, as you touched on many things there, but the media at the moment seems to be just scaremongering everyone, so everyone lives in fear. You then have another huge cohort of the population that are just doom scrolling on their phone, laughing at cat videos, instead of focusing on the here and now. And as you say, when you tune in to this very moment, it's quite incredible what that can do. I love going for a walk with my dogs in nature, but there's a very big difference between just going for a walk and being mindful. So you see the different colors on the trees, and you see the way the light is coming through the clouds, and you come back invigorated. You come back with more energy than when you started, because it just brings you back to your center, brings you back to the here and now. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And like we have so many layers when you talk about it. Now we have this traumatic war going on, and we see so much suffering in the world, but we have so much made up stuff as well that separates us. And for example, I'm the father of two already adult kids, but I remember when this whole pronoun thing and all this stuff came out, they said to me, Dad, you whatever, and they're pretty cool kids, but they said to me, oh, you don't know this yet? And I always have the advantage because I'm European and I can play a little bit dumb. I said, I never heard about this back in the days. And they said, this is how society changes. But it's complete nonsense, because on top of what we have anyway as a natural separation, our race, gender, whatever we have, I think we are good with this, and I think everybody should live what makes him happy, unless, he oversteps boundaries. And I always say, your freedom ends where my freedom starts, and this is healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And, you don't need to share whatever is your problem, you know what I mean? If you have a solution to it, you can say, listen, this was my problem, that's my solution. But you cannot say, I have this problem and I want everyone be aware of my problem, That's just not how the world runs. And this is also causes conflict in the long run, because this comes up with this entitlement. And then, you have like, whatever, I don't even know how many different genders we have right now, but it's just like, it does not really matter at the end of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially when we transport this onto our children, let them figure it out, let them be wild and free and whatever they come up with, like, I have a lot of friends. I was in the fashion industry before, like there was nobody got ever charged about being gay or bisexual, whatever. It didn't even exist, and now it's so in our face, like, and it's in the face of children. where I think it's just way too early to even think about it. You know, when I was 5, 6 years old, and you would have asked me, what do you want to be? I would have said probably a pirate, but I would have not taken my eye out. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it probably started with the right idea behind it, you know, to empower people, but it's become divisive. It's just driving a wedge between more people. So I'd like to think it started for the right reason, but the message seems to have been lost. And we should be saying, yeah, we are all the same. You can do whatever you like as long as you don't hurt anybody else. Identify as anything you want, penguin if you like. But ultimately, we are here on this planet to support one another and hopefully to lift each other up instead of bash each other over the heads and make each other feel worse.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I mean, when all those ideas that started about equality, I mean, this is a profound, important messages. You know, this is really where we should not have all these separations at all. You know, you are completely right about this. It's just like it's spinning a little bit out of control. And when people go outside in nature, I mean, nature answers so many questions. You know what I mean? It's just like, just be barefoot outside. You know, like feel the rain, feel the sun, and just be aware of what is out there, and also how we work as a human. You know, like, I mean, the sun is electric, the earth is magnetic, and we are in between this little battery.
Mm-hmm.
And it fuel us, you know, with the energy that comes in through the universe. If we know how Mother Earth is taking it like a magnet and transforms it again and sends it back. It's one cycle, you know. And in this cycle, there's just us to give serenity to this whole thing, you know, to just be grateful and say, oh, listen, I'm a part of this, you know, and this is the great thing, and it's within us and it's around us. And when you get this awareness, all this stuff that separates us goes away, you know, because you see the person, whoever it is, as this vibrating human being. You know, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think so this is where we should go back to, you know, like, and as Dalai Lama said, if every child with 8 years would start meditating right now, we would have no war within one generation.
Yeah.
That's really where the power is, you know, and our kids right now, they are so ready for this, you know, and there's a little bit too much preoccupied with bad vibes, you know, like, I mean, we are all addicted to our phones to a certain degree because it gives us so much freedom. I could not have my lifestyle without this phone because I can do work from anywhere. But on the other hand, I even catch myself wasting time on it, you know, and I'm very conscious about it, but that's a tricky one.
Yeah, exactly the same. So were you already, had you begun your sort of spiritual path before you came across the frequencies and started the Lovetuner, or would you say this has accelerated it?
I mean, I was always very curious on a very early age. I think it was my early teenage years, like around 15, 16. I had a mentor back in, I'm an Austrian, and I was born in Austria, and we had a so-called like doctor, a local doctor, and he became my absolute mentor, and he told me a lot of stuff. He was a very smart man. He could talk fluently Latin, and he gave me a lot of thoughts, and he gave me back then an original Kabbalah, and it was long before the whole Kabbalah movement even started. And I was looking at this book, I looked at Otzechim, and I understand this stuff, and it was a little bit, I mean, it resonated somehow, you know, it was something where I go like, oh wow, I get this whole thing. And then step by step, I went deeper and deeper into these journeys. I was then in South America very early in my life, and you know, we talked to shamans and so on, but I was never like public about it. So I was a very, very different guy. I did regular business. I never shared anything spiritual, like a communication what we have right now. Even if I was aware of it, I would have never, you know, come up with a conversation like this because it was a private thing for me. And but when I started the Lovetuner movement, so everything what I did before just fell into place, and it was like, oh no, that's why I'm here, that's what I'm doing. This is why I have this mission, and this is why I'm the front man. So looking back, it makes sense that I had this spiritual longing in me.
Very, very similar for me. So I traveled to South America when I was in my early 20s and had these, curious yearnings towards chatting to shamans or chatting to Buddhists in Asia. But I didn't really have an outlet to talk about it, because if I'd have said it to any of my friends, they would have laughed. They'd have been like, "You did what? You you talked to a monk about the universe? Like, why? You should have been in the pub having a beer, or something." But now it feels just really, really natural. So I think we've been on a similar path. So the Lovetuner then. So 10 years ago, you came across the frequency. You were meditating with it. There's still a big difference between being exposed to a frequency and creating something with such a powerful mission behind it. So how did that happen?
The important thing is that it's something that you can wear, that you have it always on you, and the combination with breathwork. So when you go, for example, in and you have like a sound ball that plays 528 hertz or many other healing frequencies, or you do separated breathwork. And this was the thing for us to come in and say, listen, we create this tool where you can do both. And as I said, we actually tapped into something what was way bigger than we ever imagined, and it became like a really beautiful journey. And our feedback was like, just like, oh, we like it, we do it, but no experience behind it. And this is why when we started working, we started also with a foundation, and we went into schools and we said, listen, let's go into schools, make short mindfulness programs where we learn the kids how to tune. And then they can sit in a cycle and whatever and exchange some thoughts. And I remember the first time I did it myself, we went in with, we call them team riders. These are people who work for us. They come from different fields of life, like yoga or whatever, therapists. And I walked in there in this class and we're sitting in a cycle. And it was interesting because to get like 25, 30 kids with 8 years to be in silence, that nearly is impossible. And especially when you come like this with a tool like this and you go, that's we're all gonna tune. And it was interesting, first it was like noises around. And then the first one started tuning, second one, third one, and boom, suddenly it was total silence. And we had the full attention of those kids. And what we figured out with these programs, and this was basically, it made us obviously happy that it was such a great resonance from the kids. But what was more important for us was, what did it do? It was not that they said, oh, that's great. It really changed stuff. So within one semester, we eliminated in all the schools where I've been working, bullying completely. Kids got better grades, and there was an overall better understanding within the classrooms. And even kids that had kind of animosities, they're not the best buddies and some are better buddies. But after this tuning experiences, they went like, listen, you're in my class, I'm in your class. It was kind of a different feel. And we got a lot of feedback from teachers, and they said, wow, it's amazing how quick this thing changed the atmosphere. And this is a beautiful thing. So this was actually the beginning for us to say, listen, if we get this feedback from children, then we can move on. Because if I had friends, for example, when I showed them the first time the Lovetuner, they looked at me like, well, if they would not have been friends, they would have not told me, oh, that's a nice idea. They would have said, what the bullshit is this? What a hippie-esque, esoteric gimmick is this? And later on, with the kids, they have no filters. They yeah, no. And they told us yes, and this was great. And over time, I found more and more people using it, and it's like, especially for men, it's something like, well, I don't know if I wear this. Maybe I put it in here that nobody sees it. And I still have friends of mine, they use it. They are in business positions, and some of them in powerful business positions. And they would never wear it like this under their suit or whatever. But what they all told me is like, listen, I have it always on me, under my shirt, and it's my secret weapon. If I have a big meeting, I go outside, I do a breathing break, and I come in, in a better state of mind. And this makes me happy, that that it's something what is so inclusive, because people who do meditation, who do yoga, that's one thing. But I always said, for me, it's important, and I don't know if you know Los Angeles, we have a crazy traffic situation here. And I always said, my thing is that a guy driving home, sitting on the 405 in traffic and thinking about he's late on his mortgage and all the stuff that comes up, the regular problems of life. And when he drives home and he comes to his house, maybe he sits another 3 minutes in the car and takes a tune and goes into his house and is just in a different vibration. And this is what makes me happy. And we got a lot of feedbacks from all over the world. But in the United States, what our base market actually still is, we get orders from really corners of America where you would say, you would not believe that even somebody thinks about mindfulness, and they buy it. And then we see, oh, in this little village, 5 more people are buying it, 10 more people. So it obviously does something. And just given the geographic location, you know that this is not a woke place like LA or New York, whatever. These are places where the real life is happening, where people are down to earth. And this is a beautiful thing for us, that it helps anyone, all the ages and all genders. It's just like, it's beyond religion. It's beyond anything.
Yeah. I'm imagining now, and I think it's quite a really lovely thought to think of someone coming home from work. They're stressed, busy, maybe, on the one hand, they rush in the door, they grab a beer, shout at their kids because they're stressed. And then the other dimension is kind of they tune, they center themselves, they go in, they pick up the kids, give them a hug, kiss their partner, and have a lovely evening. You can imagine these two people, two distinct.
And and you can make this decision anytime in your life. Like you have the same amount of light in you, then you have darkness, and you just make sure what side you want to feed. And it's like, it doesn't happen overnight. And the next thing is also, when you become more conscious, there's also stuff in your life that needs to go. And I always make one example. It's like, we all have been on an airport, and the plane that should have been leaving already is still sitting there. So the other plane cannot land. We're all waiting. And this is the situation when you raise your consciousness. Think about it like as a gate where there's still a plane that occupies the other one from coming in. So the stuff that you don't need, in this case, like the plane that should have been leaving already 50 minutes ago, is still there. And this is the same thing when you are in connection or in vibration with something where you consciously know that's not good for you. You need to let this go. But this is like, cut this off, make sure that the gate is open for new experiences in life, for new friends, for new job opportunities, whatever it is, can come into you, and this will come to you. This is the thing, when you change your consciousness, your life will change. It's not like, oh, I live exactly the same thing, I just have more money. That's not what's going to happen, And if this is the case, that's not anyway what makes you happy. It's the overall change, and change in your behavior and change in your patterns of reactions. And then at one point, when you start vibrating higher, you are not vibrating on a lower level anymore. So you have more high vibrating experiences in life. So cooler stuff gonna happen to you. You're just happier for whatever reason. And a lot of stuff that has no meaning, what had a lot of meaning before, just falls off, And this has nothing to do with being a hippie or whatever. And this is also, that's actually a very strong move, because especially when we talk about masculinity, when you really accept who you are, there's no like, oh, I'm a tough guy, I'm not a tough guy. It does not matter. You need to be happy with yourself, and you don't have to fulfill any pattern what is out there. When you are happy with yourself, when you get a stupid smile on your face for no reason, and you feel healthy and you're strong and you eat good food and you have a great doctor like you, then the world is already in order.
Yeah, absolutely. You remind me of I think, I'm not going to get it quite right, but I think it's a Native American kind of tale about the two wolves, and the little boy says to an elder, there's two wolves inside me, like a black one and a white one, evil and good. which one is the most powerful? And the elder says, the one you feed. So when you're putting good things into the body, good things and better things happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I noticed one too. That's good.
Yeah. So so you came across, obviously, the frequency. It changed your life significantly enough to start this movement. Since then, what have you discovered about frequency? Because when you look into it, it's a huge area of science, isn't it? And I think 528 hertz is somatics as well. So it's the moment sound becomes visual as well as audible. So it's an incredible amount of information out there.
With the 528 hertz, it's the only frequency that resonates in the same, like on audible scale and on the, how you call it, photosomatic scale. So 528 hertz is in the sound, exactly what 528 hertz nanometers is in light. So this is why the 528 hertz is green. And what a lot of people don't know, and we have it on our, I think it's one of our YouTube channels or social media, we have a guy on there that actually proved it. So he went out with a little speaker and he was measuring the leaves of plants. And then he placed the tuner. And the reason why our plants are green is because they vibrate in 520 hertz. And you make this vibration in the leaves visible or hearable, then you will say, oh, that's exactly like the Lovetuner sounds.
Wow.
And the humming of the bees, 528 hertz. And it's a cosmic, very powerful frequency. And there's a reason they call it the miracle frequency, the DNA repair frequency, because it really shifts stuff in your system. And we have seen a lot of signs out there, not even what we did ourselves, but we have seen it helps you with alcoholism. It helps you, what you also saw in your studies, raising your testosterone. And there's a lot of health benefits out of this frequency. And the more we went into this knowledge of this frequency, it just became so obvious for us. And this is the funny part for me too, because even on a business scale, it even goes that far that no matter with whom we work, we always have to be very careful who it is, because people who are not in the right frequency, maybe it takes a month, it can take a year, but there's no way they can hold on to it. And that's a very interesting process. I mean, this goes into quantum physics and so on, because this is where vibration actually is. You know, every thought is vibrational. You know, everything we do has a vibration. And the only thing is why we got so disconnected from this is because our pharmaceutical proceedings right now has nothing to do with frequency and vibration at all. So, and when you look at Nikola Tesla over 100 years ago, he invented the first bioresonance machine. And meanwhile, a lot of doctors, a lot of alternative healers, holistic approach is bioresonance. Mm-hmm. And it's a very strong way of healing, and it just got a little bit forgotten, I think. And it's a great thing to gravitate towards, to be more aware of everything.
Yeah, it's fascinating how the world has kind of gone full circle, because if you go back to Hermes and the Hermetic principles, and he was talking about exactly this, like basically everything was frequency, as above so below, all of these things. And then religion came along, and then science came along, and that said it was all rubbish. And now quantum physics is saying, actually, I think everything's just frequency. We've gone right back to the beginning again. And everyone's sort of agreeing with each other. And you go, well, we said this thousands of years ago, which was rubbished for a long time. And now everyone seems to be coming back to this agreement that everything is frequency.
No, and there's also like I don't want to call it like conspiracy background. It's really happened. And when you look at the story of the 528 hertz frequency, so 600 after Christ, the Gregorian choirs have been chanting exactly on the C note. Back then it was a regular C note, 528 hertz. And it was extremely powerful. It healed a lot of people, little communities. And the church was actually the first one that went in and said, listen, we don't need those people being so happy and in harmony and good vibes. I think a little bit fear is better for us, and we can make more money. And this was the first one, and then it got changed in the medieval again. And before the Second World War, Adolf Hitler changed it to get people, because people have not been longing for the next war. I mean, even if the political situation was set up to do so. But when you look back into the 30s, I mean, there were 20s, it was the swinging 20s. People have been happy to listen to big band music and so on and so on. And this music was actually cool music, and it was still on 520 hertz. And then it got changed. Adolf Hitler changed it. Later on, the Rockefeller Foundation made our musical scale that we have right now. The A got calibrated to 440 hertz, and originally was 444 hertz. And when you have the A tone in 444, the C note is 528 hertz. So, and then we have actually harmonic music, and as I mentioned earlier, John Lennon was aware about this knowledge, and this is when he composed Imagine. And this is a little bit of a side gig what we are doing. So we actually educating musicians, and we telling them, and also DJs, we telling them, listen, adjust your synthesizer from 440 to 444 hertz. It's like not even that the sound changes that much, but your music will touch and unite hearts.
Yeah, feels very, very different. So tell me about your book, because this is something that I think has just been released, or just coming out.
Yeah, it came out like a couple of weeks ago. It's called One Journey, and it's a little bit autobiography, like just that people understand where I'm coming from, that I was not sitting on the top of a mountain meditating all my life. So I was, I had a regular career. I was a businessman. I did a bunch of different things. So my background was actually architecture and art and design. And then at one point, like my journey started. So, and in this book, I explain everything that we are just talking about, that people have an easy to read guidance, how to integrate not only the Lovetuner, but all the Hermetic laws, all the universal laws, to understand what it means to have escalation steps, because we all got so okay with like, oh, I have a little flu, I have a little cold, and we never look into where it's really coming from. It's that, oh, I must have been exposed to cold, like, listen, we have been exposed to cold for thousands of years. Nobody got a snivel, nobody got a flu. So when we understand that the way we live and our body shows us very clearly those escalation steps, and if we get a little bit more fine-tuned, we go like, maybe there's something else, because everything is psychosomatic anyway. And these escalation steps is one point what is in the books, what I think is very important for people to understand, because we all want to be healthy, we all want to live long. And yeah, it's an easy guide to integrate frequency, breath work into your life, basically, and have a spiritual understanding why this is even happening.
Brilliant. And where can people get it?
It's published by Waterside Publishing House, but it's available on Amazon. It's I can show it to you real quick. I have it somewhere. I saw it. So let me see. Here it is. Here we go. That's the book called One Journey, and it's like about 200 pages. And it's available on Amazon, or you can also go on lovetuner.com.
Wonderful. And you mentioned it goes into sort of the breathwork side of things as well. We talked a little bit before, and we hit record, but that's a big part of it as well, isn't it? So it's not just about the frequency; it's the breathwork side of it as well, which is helpful.
Yeah, like what our main issue is like everybody knows Wim van Hof, the Iceman. He did a lot of stuff. His work is very profound, I think. But in general, our breath is like literally underestimated, and if we put more focus into it, we can self-regulate our body. So when you take a breathing break through the Lovetuner, for example, what happens is it separates our nervous system. So our parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So this is how we are wired. We are always wired into fight and flight. But in our society, it's not necessary. There's not like whatever tiger coming around the corner and drags us out of our cave. That's not happening anymore. So sometimes our reaction does not need to be fight or flight anymore. And when you do a breathing exercises, it separates the nervous system, disconnects it, and it gives you the feeling of relaxation. And it basically takes away the first step, which is anxiety, stress. And if you don't do anything about stress and anxiety, it ends in panic, and that's where it is. And then it goes into burnout, and we know the down spiral. But if you can catch this, like when you feel anxiety coming up, you take the tuna or whatever breathwork you like, and you do a breathing cycle, you will see that it's not that bad. You're not gonna die. It's like it gives you the relaxation again. And this is, for example, we have a lot of people that want to get, I don't know how it is in Europe, but in America, the vape pandemic is a really big thing. And we have a lot of younger people that ask us, hey, does it really help? And then some people buy Lovetuners and give us a feedback and say, listen, I'm vaping less, so I completely stop. Because besides the chemicals which are in cigarettes and in these vapes, the actual process of going is not bad. That's a conscious breathing break, and a lot of people are stressed out. They're sitting in their offices, and then they go out for the cigarette break, and this is where they relax, and they go,
yeah.
And it's not even a cigarette break; it's a breathing break, and the Lovetuner does exactly this, but it's just healthy. There's no nicotine, there's no chemicals, and this is why I think breathwork is so important, to regulate. And I remember I had the luck that I still met my grandma, and every time when I was excited as a kid, she said one thing: take a breath. And this gives you, the relaxation to make better decisions, to be just more open and be aware of what you feel.
Love it. Well, Sigmar, it's been an absolute pleasure. Loved our conversation. If people are watching this and it's resonated, how can they find you? Where can they get their own Lovetuner?
Best would be to go on lovetuner.com. So this is our e-commerce, and we are shipping worldwide. We have a fulfillment center in Europe that ships all countries in Europe. We have one in the US and South America. So whoever orders, they will end up with a Lovetuner in their head within a couple of days.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'll speak to you very soon. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Alphagenix Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's episode. For more resources on Alphagenix and men's health, visit alphagenix.co.uk. Until next time.